Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a rigorous diagnostic analysis of one of the absolute most persistent bottlenecks in modern biomanufacturing. We're talking about commercial-scale deviations. Instead of just getting bogged down in the biology, we're going to bypass it for a moment and look directly into the physics of the bioreactor to uncover the true root causes of scale-up failure.
Here is our roadmap for this diagnostic journey. We'll start with the happy cells paradox, move on to toxic lactate spikes, explore hydrodynamics and microtrauma, examine the failures of traditional models, introduce hybrid bioreactor digital twins, and finally, look at virtual feed strategies.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the baseline, the happy cells paradox.
So you might be wondering, what exactly is this paradox? Well, it's really rooted in the sheer discrepancy of scale. Picture a standard 2-liter laboratory reactor. In that small space, mammalian cell cultures exhibit totally predictable proliferation and yield high results, mostly thanks to the near-perfect homogenization of nutrients. Everything mixes beautifully. But when you transfer that exact identical cell line and process into a massive 20,000-liter commercial vessel, it abruptly precipitates a severe metabolic shift, and biological productivity just flatlines. It turns out, the physical realities of massive fluid dynamics simply do not scale linearly.
Moving on to Section 2, the symptom, toxic lactate spikes.
The primary biological symptom that signals this scale-up failure is something called a lactate spike. Basically, when cells are under physiological stress, their metabolic pathways undergo a massive divergence. So instead of utilizing glucose efficiently to build biomass, these cells start disproportionately generating lactic acid. This rapid accumulation creates a cytotoxic microenvironment, literally poisoning the area and crippling cell growth. Historically, engineers have tried to treat this by just tweaking biological feeds. But those biological adjustments offer only temporary relief because, as we're learning, the root cause is fundamentally physical, not biological.
That brings us to Section 3, the pathology, hydrodynamics, and microtrauma. You have to realize that a 20,000-liter vessel is a highly heterogeneous environment. It is not uniform. For example, when cells generate acidic byproducts, engineers pump in alkaline solutions, like sodium carbonate, to balance it out. Now, a tiny 2-liter tank mixes that instantly, but complete homogenization in a massive commercial tank can actually take several minutes. That delay leaves unmixed, highly caustic pH plumes drifting through the tank. Concurrently, you get localized hypoxic zones, areas severely lacking oxygen, developing near the bottom or behind baffles. And on top of all that, you have substantial mechanical shear forces tearing away near the impeller blades.
Now think about what happens as a cell circulates through that enormous reactor volume. It gets periodically dragged through oxygen-deprived hypoxic zones, immediately blasted by caustic, high pH chemical shocks, and then physically battered by high shear impeller forces. We define this continuous, brutal exposure as microtrauma. So we have to ask ourselves, is the shift toward lactate production just some spontaneous biological mutation? Absolutely not. It is an adaptive metabolic response to a highly variable and physically demanding macroscopic environment, an environment that simply didn't exist back at the laboratory scale.
Let's look at Section 4, failed treatments, the inadequacy of traditional models.
Historically, attempts to computationally model and solve these metabolic shifts have completely failed across two distinct paradigms. First, you have purely mechanistic models. These assume ideal, instantaneous mixing across the entire vessel. They entirely miss the spatial geometry and vastly overpredict cellular performance because they ignore those pH gradients and localized hypoxia. Conversely, you have purely empirical machine learning or black box AI. These rely on historical averages to correlate macroscopic inputs with outputs. But since they lack foundational physics, these algorithms just collapse whenever the vessel geometry changes. Both methods fail simply because they ignore the localized environmental extremes that the cells are actually experiencing.
Which leads us to Section 5, the cure, hybrid bioreactor digital twins.
So what's the actual cure here? It's hybrid semi-parametric modeling. This approach creates an incredibly accurate digital twin of the bioreactor by combining three foundational pillars. Step 1. The mechanistic framework. This grounds the whole model in fundamental mass and heat balance equations, so predictions operate strictly within the established laws of thermodynamics and biology. Step 2. Hydrodynamic process metrics. This uses computational fluid dynamics, or CFD, to meticulously map the precise volume and residence time of those caustic pH plumes and hypoxic zones we talked about. It essentially gives us a spatial, physical fingerprint of the commercial vessel. And finally, Step 3, machine learning estimation.
for dynamic parameter correlation. Let's focus on that third pillar for a second. Rather than relying on static empirical constants, this digital twin deploys a neural network to dynamically estimate system-specific kinetic parameters, like the specific growth rate, denoted by the Greek letter mu. By feeding it scale-independent CFD metrics, the network calculates exactly how lactate production shifts based on the specific amount of time a cell spends trapped inside a pH plume. Because it's confined safely within established thermodynamic boundaries, this AI yields highly precise, scale-aware predictions, and it doesn't even require massive historical datasets to do it. It's brilliant.
And finally, Section 6, the prognosis, virtual feed strategies.
Armed with this scale-aware hybrid model, process engineers no longer need to rely on incredibly expensive and high-risk physical trials. You can now computationally simulate operational interventions entirely in a virtual space. Let's say you've got a toxic pH plume. You can virtually test relocating the alkaline addition ports to see if it accelerates plume dispersion. You can computationally modify feed dosing rates to eliminate localized starvation zones, or even optimize your agitation protocols to dial back shear stress without compromising bulk mixing efficiency. You are literally engineering out the physical trauma before a single actual cell is ever introduced to the commercial tank.
Ultimately, as noted beautifully in the source research, through the precise mapping of these physical extremes, it becomes possible to engineer a stable culture environment, proactively prevent lactate accumulation, and maintain optimal cellular viability across all manufacturing scales. I think this fundamentally reframes how we view commercial scale-up failures. The biological limitations we've been fighting all these years are actually just symptoms of adverse physical hydrodynamics. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought. In the quest for perfect biomanufacturing scale-up, are we finally ready to stop blaming the biology and start engineering the physics? Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep modeling, and keep learning.